once I really started thinking like, well, why is it that way? And like, does that even make sense for me? I kept getting a big fat sacred, as we like to say, no, like a big sacred no. And because I'm like, I don't want to be accountable to this system. To me, this system is broken. This system does not reflect how I feel aligned with working with my clients. And also in my clinical experience, I would say about half my supervisors have been absolutely incredible, amazing, bomb healers. And then the other half have been honestly stuck in their own trauma. They have been unethical. And I have personally suffered harm at the hands of those supervisors. So I'm like, all right, if we're looking at like 50-50 here, like I don't like those odds. And as a white person, if I learned anything from BLM, it was to really question the narrative, to really sit back and be like, okay,
what is it that, like, how did this all happen? Like, how did we get here? Where did all of this come from? Like,
who is this serving? Like, who is this actually serving?
Yeah, 100%. I actually was looking, of course, like flipping through TikTok the other day, and this is kind of loosely tied to all of this, but it's like, we ask where these things came from, the DSM, all of this research, who's funding it, what is their agenda, who's getting what out of what, who's paying who for what. Like, it's all so connected. And there are agendas. But I was talking to somebody the other day about this thing that I saw on TikTok, and oh my God, it's like escaping me. Hold on. Oh, yes. Where the Texas State Board, because as maybe you don't or do know, our educational system is state-based, right? So our state governments decide what it is that we are taught in public school. And part of this whole thing is that, again, it's a narrative. It's like someone wrote that textbook. That textbook was then programmed into us, and it either says one thing or says another. And whoever wrote it and whatever they felt, and this is back to the mental health, back to the healing, back to self-awareness and self-responsibility and trauma cycles, they put on paper what they felt was the right thing maybe to do, but is actually not the right thing to put on paper, and left out things. So, for example, the Texas State Board has now decided to basically remove Native American history, the Martin Luther King speech, so many different really important parts of American history that are not so flattering. And in order to erase the kind of horrific things that have happened to communities of color and indigenous communities over the course of the history of the United States. And someone asked me on TikTok, well, why does this matter? Let Texas do their own thing. And I said, well, here's why it matters. Texas Instruments is the largest producer and distributor of textbooks to all American public schools. 99.9% of schools in America use textbooks written and distributed by Texas Instruments. Texas Instruments is based in Texas. Those textbooks are governed by the Texas Board of Education, by the government of Texas. So now you could be in a, let's say, a state where maybe that's not the belief, that people are like, whoa, we can't erase history. That's fucked up, because it is. No matter how much shame you feel around it, right? That erasure is not okay. And they're buying textbooks from Texas Instruments. And so what they're actually teaching students is whatever's in those books. And that does erase the history that we're trying so hard to maintain so that we can heal and move on. Or like not maintain, but so hard to like remember, and keep in mind all of these things. Like, it's really mind-blowing, the kind of gaslighting that happens on this level. And this is part of the system that we have to question. Who is writing the history? Who's creating the narrative? And I know my computer agrees because my chimes are going off. But
That's the spirit guys being like,
right? Just embrace it. Meditation. My meditation teacher always said, like, you never know what's going to happen. You have to be able to always be able to drop in like that, whether you're on a train or walking down the street or whatever it is. Same thing. But it is very much like, question that narrative. Ask yourself. And when I was in school to become a therapist, what really turned me off from joining the system. And I had a really beautiful experience in my graduate school and in my doctoral program, because they were both happened to be so forward thinking and so in the 10 steps ahead of where the system is, that I got spoiled and I thought that's where we were. But one of the things— Just kidding, right? Thanks for watching, you guys. If you enjoyed this, click here to check out the full podcast episode. Click here to check out our full library of podcast episodes. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you can be the first to know when we're posting new ones. I'll see you soon.